Hi, Bob from PineGrow here with another video. In this third video in the series of adding user controls to our pages in PineGrow, I'm going to go over how you can add a font selector to allow your users to change the font to be either smaller or larger on the page. Since we already have the basic concept of adding a control to the page, I'm going to go a little quicker with this one. This time I'm going to use a select input to allow the user for several choices. So as with our other, we'll go over here, type in select, and then drag that to the page. So again, I'm going to hold down the command key so that when I drag that over, I can put it right into that fourth slot. And so once again, just to remind people, go back to the nav, type either Command or Control G to open our grid editor. So we have 4 different columns for our logo, our links, the mode that we just made, and now in this video where we're going to put our font changer. So as before, if we look at the styles panel for this, we see it's now been assigned a grid area of 1425. We want to actually assign it to the named grid area. And as before, I've already done some styling that I left on the page, and so we can just get that into the proper area by adding a class. So I'm going to go to the Properties panel, and then for Add Class, I'm going to type Font. We can see that we have this new rule being added on through that font class with a grid area font. It's inactive because this one is inline, so we have to delete that. And now we have this placed in the correct area. Next, we're going to go back to the tree. And for this select, we're going to have to add some options. So go up here. See that popped up already. Then we're going to actually add in 4 different options. So again, we'll use our repeater. So we just type the number 4 and then drag the option over here, making sure that it goes within that selection font. Okay, now the rest of the styling of these options can pretty much be done in the Properties panel. So I'm going to select the option, go to the Properties panel, and we're going to want to give these options for what text that we want to do. So I'm going to give this one a text of small and a value of small. And now we can see that it's here in the drop down. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the same for our other options. Now I'm going to go back to my normal option. So this is the one that I want to always be shown at the start. So basically I'm giving the user the option to go either smaller or 2 sizes larger. To make this show up first, so right now we can see that the option of small is showing up to make the normal show up as the default. And then we're going to go back to our properties editor of selected. Okay, now we can see that that is showing up in the drop-down. If we look at the others, we can see that small is above that and the large and X large are below it. Now, just like with the visual editor, we now need to somehow connect this when it changes to the page. And once again, we're going to go ahead and use that onChange attribute. So if we go here, reselect this and go to the Properties panel, we can see that right now all we have is the class. We're going to add just one more attribute to it. We could add a size on here. So this gives us a HTML gives us a choice that we can do something like this. to show two different things, but by default, it's just going to show that one item in the dropdown. We could also name this. Again, we're not submitting this as a form, so we don't really need named fields, but we do need to add that on change. So I'm going to click that. Okay, just as a reminder from the last video, our attribute is case insensitive, but I like to capitalize the C. And then we're passing in to that on change our method name, our function name. So that function is going to get called whenever this checkbox changes. I've chosen to name that new function Font S Switcher. So again, the capitalization for the function name is crucial. So we need to make sure that our script, our function that we introduce through the script, has the name font and then an uppercase S in the switcher. Once again, we're passing an argument to the method, to the function. We're passing this. This, in this context, is going to be the value of this dropdown. So with that done, we now have to add the code in. As I said in the last video, there's a number of different ways that we can do this. So I'll just show you one quick way that you can do this. As I said, I usually prefer using an outside code editor, Atom or Microsoft Visual Studio Code. But one way that you can get it added onto the page is you can go ahead. If you already have your code written someplace else, for instance, if you're taking a snippet off of Stack Overflow or something, or CodePen, you can go up to the insert code box and go ahead and just paste that in there. And so I obviously already have this set up. You can then take, once you have that done, switch back to your DOM tree, and then go ahead and just drag that box down to the page. So let's go ahead and open that up in the code editor since it's a little cramped here. Once again, float the page. Okay, so this time the script is actually a little easier. So again, we have our outside script tags, which we need if we're putting it inline on the page. We do not need those script tags if we're choosing to include this function in an outside file and then load that script file onto the page. So in this case, again, on our first line, we're saying that we're defining a function and we're giving it the name Font Switcher with the capital S, which is important, and assigning the this, which is the drop-down value up here, into the element variable. Now in the first line, we're defining a variable, let, and defining the variable name as target. So let target equal the document body. So document.body. Again, in JavaScript, that is the body element of the page that we're going to be modifying. Next, we have the heavy lifter line. So we're saying take this document body, the target, and then set an attribute. The attribute's name this time is data size. And this is a little bit complicated, but basically what we're saying is we look at all the options for this element and we want to figure out what the currently selected index value is. So in this case, it'd be the second one because remember small was first. And then take that value. So the value would be the same as the name, so normal. And so it's going to set data size to normal. Okay, let's close this out. And let's go back over to our styles. Let's select the body first. Go to our styles. And we can see there's our friend, the data mode equals light. We've got the body, and we don't have anything else. And that's because there's no data size attribute on the body element as of yet. So we can just put that on. Go to attribute. So now we've got that data size added on. If we look, we can see that now we have two data attributes, data mode and data size. Now, if our code is working, when we change this, it will change our data size. If we go back over to the styles now, we can see that there now is styling added in. For data size of normal, I've added a font size of 1 rem. So what that's going to do is it's going to look at the HTML element and take that as a font size and then multiply it by whatever number of rems we give it. So in this case, it's a rem of 1. So it's going to be the same size as whatever on that HTML. In a normal browser, that's 16 pixels. But if persons with disabilities choose to, they can set that base HTML font size to a larger size. So I'm just going to open up the style sheet so we can look at the other styles. So right now I have the variables in for our data mode light and our data mode dark. And then below that, I have our 4 different font sizes. So for data size small, I have a font size of 0.8 rm, so it's going to be 80% of our base HTML font. For normal, 1 rem. For data size large, it's going to be 1.2 or 120% of our HTML base size. And for our extra large, it's going to be 1.4. So let's just see if that works. Pull that down. Let's go larger. Let's go really larger. Let's go dark mode. Let's go small. So that's it. We've put together a page with 2 user controls, and I think it was pretty easy. This tutorial had a little bit more of code wrangling than some of our beginners tutorials normally do, but I think that is one of the really great things about Pinegrow. To accomplish a number of things, you never have to write any code. However, if you do need to add some custom code into your project, Pinegrow provides some great tools to do so, as well as immediate feedback of whether or not your JavaScript is working. So that comes to the end of this tutorial. As always, if you have any questions or comments, please reach out to us by email or in our forum. And until the next time, have fun designing with Pinegrow.